Hey everyone, it's your girl Monica Leigh, and welcome to the Drive Thru Podcast with none other than your girl Monica Leigh. If this is your first time pulling up, I'm really glad that you're here. And if you've been rocking with me since the beginning, welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about something simple, but not always easy. And that would be the word no. Just 2 letters, but somehow one of the hardest things to say. So let's get right into it. Now, let's be honest for a second, shall we? Saying no doesn't always come naturally. And for a lot of us, we've been conditioned to say yes. Yes to being available. Yes to showing up. Yes to helping out. Yes to not disappointing people. And the list goes on, right? And on the surface, that sounds like a good thing. But here's the question. At what point does always saying yes start costing you something? Okay? And that leads us to the reality of always saying yes. For 1 second, let's just sit with that for a second, okay? Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with you, you're giving away your time. And remember, once time is gone, it's gone forever. Your energy, your capacity, and sometimes, and probably the most important, your peace. And the crazy part is, a lot of times we don't even realize we're doing it. We just go along with it, or we say yes out of habit. We say yes because it actually feels easier than explaining why we don't want to. We say yes because we don't want to deal with how someone might react if we say no. And I'm sure a lot of us can think at least one situation or scenario that applies to us. And then before you know it, you're overwhelmed, you're drained, and then you're wondering how you even got there, right? So let me give you a real moment, okay? Let me just say this. Sometimes we say yes and immediately regret it. And I know a lot of you can understand where I'm coming from, okay? We immediately regret it after we say it. Like immediately. You hang up the phone and you're like, why did I just agree to that? Right? Because now that we've agreed to it, that means we've now committed to it. We have committed to the word yes and everything that goes along with it, right? So now that we've committed to it, then we realize, okay, our schedule is tight, and then your energy is already low. And instead of just honoring how you feel with this, just push through it anyway. And we all know that is a cycle. It's a continuous cycle. And as long as we keep allowing it to happen, it's going to keep on happening. And that itself is exhausting. When I say that, exhausting. So what we need to ask ourselves is, what does no actually mean, right? Let's shift this perspective a little, okay? Because saying no does not mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're being rude. It doesn't mean you're letting people down. And it doesn't mean you're selfish. Although we always seem to think that if we're not saying yes, that all the above apply to us. And it makes us feel those things immediately. But what it actually means is you're aware. It means you're intentional. It means you understand your limits. And guess what? This is a tough one because I think as human beings, we really don't always understand our limits. In fact, on the contrary, we do the opposite and we push them until it comes to the point where there's nothing left for us to do anymore. We are completely gassed out, put the brakes on, like that's it. And when you understand your limits, you're also choosing to respect them. And that's definitely not a negative thing. That's growth. That is growth. And with growth, that kind of leads us into what I want to also pin, and that's boundaries. And to me, boundaries equal self-respect. Right? Boundaries equal self-respect. And a lot of this does come down to boundaries. And I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but boundaries, they really are just about understanding what works for you and more importantly, what doesn't work for you. Boundaries are about protecting your time. Not allowing yourself to be available when somebody needs you when it's on their timetable, right? How about protecting your energy? Those days when, you just feel like everyone needs you all at the same time and you're just one person trying to show up for everyone and that energy has already went down the drain. And then protecting your peace. Because the truth is, if you don't set boundaries, people will set them for you. Let me say that one more time. If you don't set boundaries, people will set them for you. And usually that looks like you constantly are overextending yourself. How many times in a given day have we just thought that we've stretched ourselves thin? But then on top of that, we have other people dictating to us when we should be doing things, at what time we should be doing things, and more importantly, that it needs to be done on their timetable. If we keep on saying yes to those things, we don't care about self-respect. We don't care about protecting our peace. And we don't care about our own personal boundaries. And they are very important. Okay? So outside of boundaries, then usually comes the guilt part, right? And that part really gets people. It does. It gets a conversation usually going. Because even when you know you should say no, there's still that feeling inside, right? That little voice like, am I doing the right thing? Are they going to be upset if I say no? Or should I just do it anyway? And listen, that feeling doesn't just disappear overnight, but I want you to remember something. Guilt doesn't always mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it just means you're doing something different. It could mean something new, okay? Something that prioritizes you. But at the end of the day, and I feel like even myself, I'm more aware of this now that I'm older. It's okay to choose yourself each and every time, because at the end of the day, when you choose yourself, you can't get upset. You can't get upset. It's not being selfish. Choosing yourself means that you have boundaries. Choosing yourself means that this is what's best for you at this time, and it's okay. And choosing yourself, that's where a lot of people get uncomfortable, because we're so used to putting ourselves last each and every time. But choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop showing up for others. It does not. It just means you stop abandoning yourself in the process. And sometimes choosing yourself looks like saying, I can't commit to that right now. I'm sorry. Or just taking a step back, not having to over-explain your decision and protecting your time without feeling the need to justify it. I think that's a big one for a lot of us, right? That you feel that you need to justify why it is that you're saying no, whereas saying yes is so easy, and we feel like we are doing the right thing or we're pleasing the other person. And yes, it might feel uncomfortable at first, right? But that discomfort that you're feeling or you're experiencing, that is where the growth is. That is where the growth is. And then when you start realizing this, then there comes a shift. Once you start getting comfortable saying no, there's a lot of positive things that come from that. You stop overcommitting. You stop feeling stretched thin. You stop saying yes just to avoid a reaction. And that is probably one of the easiest reasons why we don't say no, is to avoid a reaction from the other person. But your yes, though, your yes becomes more intentional. It becomes more genuine. It becomes more aligned, because now when you say yes, you actually mean it. You actually mean it. So let me give you a real life perspective moment, okay? Think about it like this. If your schedule is already full and you keep adding more to it, eventually something is going to suffer, okay? Your energy, your focus, your peace, just to name a few, okay? So sometimes saying no isn't about rejecting something. It's about protecting everything else. And I want you to remember that. Sometimes saying no isn't about rejecting something. It's about protecting everything else. And that is so important. So if this is something that you struggle with, I tell you to start small. You don't have to flip a switch overnight, okay? But start paying attention to how things make you feel. If something consistently drains you, if something feels like an obligation instead of a choice, if something makes you pause before saying yes, then that might be your moment to say no. This is what I want to do. I'm going to leave you with this. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you create space for something that does. This is a good one to remember. So feel free to jot it down, text it to yourself, screenshot or timestamp this saying. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you create space for something that does. And that space, that's where clarity happens. And when clarity is starting to form, growth begins to happen as well. And that's where you start showing up as your best self, ladies and gentlemen. That is where you start showing up as your best self. As I wrap up today's episode, I just wanted to say I appreciate you pulling up with me today. And if this conversation gave you something to think about or helped you see things a little differently, share it with someone who might need it as well. Remember, new episodes of the Drive Thru Podcast with your girl Monica Leigh drop every Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time. And remember, more importantly, don't forget to pull up and see me at the drive-thru. Until then, take care of you. I'll see you soon. Bye.